The future doesn't necessarily mean modernization, but the future is having a clear vision of the path of your development and how your development should look like, how your cities should look like, how people who are rich should live, what kind of communities should we live in, how should people in a community interact with each other. All of this is future-mindedness. So
let me now open the floor for questions and answers. And Chancellor is here. He will fill the answers for us. He's a good one. Questions, please. Questions? Yes. Please, you can mention your name and then please, can we have another microphone?
Thank you very, very much, Chancellor. We are so grateful for such an insightful delivery. I have always been wondering over overcoming challenges, how to address issues when they come to one's attention. And listening to you, my mind goes back to the typical Ghanaian attitude. And we know some places are not demarcated for certain activities. But then before you know it, a whole lot of community springs up, especially on the motorway. You find people erecting kiosks and all manner of structures. And in an attempt to correct them, they come back to ask you, where should we stay? And I ask myself, so who authorized you to, first of all, put that structure there? And in an attempt to correct it, all manner of arguments and comments come up. A typical Ghanaian listening to such a beautiful lecture, how do we conscientize our minds? How do we help ourselves to know that there are causes and there are effects for every action that we take? And to disabuse that mentality of give me my food or give me a place to sell. If you drive me out of the market, where am I going to trade? How do we correct all of that? Thank you very much.
Chancellor is willing to take 3 questions, so please, if there is a second question, hey. He's taking 3 questions.
Secondly, is there a difference between what we call future-mindedness and thinking? I'm asking this because, well, my voice carries, I think. I'm asking because in development theory, we tend to have terms that everybody gets used to, which tends to be the way that we speak in the environment. And as I was listening to you, I was trying to put your thoughts into those same theories. And I realized that whilst you have very innovative ways of looking at them, I can still find a similarity. So one, is there a difference between precision and accuracy and order? Number 2, is there a difference between, what do you call it? Future-mindedness and sustainable thinking? And then the cause and effect issue. All these 3 brings me to the question which I want to ask. And I didn't hear you. You have taught me a lot about mentorship over the years. I remember the several hours I've spent in your office discussing Jim Collins, Good to Great, and the rest. But today, I didn't see you emphasize the importance of leadership. And I have a theory that all the things that you have mentioned either survive or die on the principle of leadership. What is your opinion on that?
Let me start, if I may help you, to say that a lecture like this should not just be for this university. This is a lecture is about change in Africa. I'm from Nigeria. And these are some of the considerations some of us have also in our country. So that's my first observation, sir, if I may. And then I'm looking at accuracy and precision. I meet young people. I'm always interested to know how tall people are. And I ask, how tall are you? And I'm horrified, they don't know. Somebody says, oh, I walked from here to there. It was so far. I said, like how many minutes? Like how many kilometers? And they don't know. And my concern is that the young people who are the future of Africa, who are supposed to propel this change, seem like they don't care. I don't know, maybe AI will do it for us. I don't know if that is what will happen. And then you talk about magical mindset. When you don't mention spirituality, I thought maybe you are trying to avoid having to say more than that. Because our churches are filled with people who thank you so much.
I think we have our 3 questions. We will permit Chancellor to answer the questions.
So the first question was about what happens when we're trying to implement something related to orderliness and people complain. I mean, it's not easy to resolve these things because human beings are human beings. And when in our own mistake, we allow the wrong to go on, or even give people permission to do the wrong thing, we should not unfairly punish the people. But neither should we also perpetuate the mistake. So the answer is somewhere between finding a reasonable solution, relocate the people, and ensuring that we don't go back to that system. And you talked about the motorway, because we all saw the motorway. I mean, if you drive by the motorway, there was a green belt by the motorway, and there's a blue belt after the green belt. And so certain corridor was not supposed to be built on. And we all saw it when they started, you know. And so those are the issues. And so if somebody is building, and sometimes they have building permit, you know, so you can't punish people because of your own mistakes. But we shouldn't also keep it. So I think there has to be a balance between this and that. But recently, I mean, when they cleared the Agbogloshi, where our Christ Temple campus is, you know, we also cleared. I told the regional minister then, I said, I never thought this would ever happen. And I think this is one of the most remarkable things I've seen in this country. And the reason is that in my experience in Ghana, when things start going bad, they don't get well. We have no capacity to reverse things in a positive direction. So when it starts going bad, it's doomed. So I saw that place and I said, the Ghana I know, we would never fix this problem. So when the former regional minister cleared that place, I was shocked. I thought I was an optimist, but I was shocked. And I kept telling him, don't leave this place. Do something about it. If you can't develop it, commit, let people buy. Even if it's going to take them 5 years to develop, somebody must own it, has possession of it, and will develop it so that they can protect the land. But nothing was done. And then, after change of government, back to square one. So, anyway, but my answer is, I mean, we're dealing with human beings, and human beings are not trees, and you can't treat people as if they have no life. But we shouldn't also use that to keep the wrong thing. So there has to be a way, and then to begin a new system of doing the right thing. The second question was whether order is the same as accuracy and precision. I chose those words because embedded in accuracy and precision is science, and the whole intellectual work of creating systems. So I didn't want to use order because I felt order had a limited scope, and that's why I say accuracy and precision. And whether future-mindedness is the same as sustainability. That also, because I had the concept of creativity and innovation in future-mindedness, because I used to be a member of the National Commission on Culture from 1989 to, I was on that thing for 20 years. National Commission on Culture thinks about all the culture, chieftaincy, everything, National Theatre. And one of the questions I used to ask at the commission, and I say, all of us have a picture of the African past, but we don't have a picture of the African future. What will a developed Africa look like? Should a developed Africa look like Great Britain? Should it look like Dubai? What is our vision? Because if we don't have that vision, then we enter the future without any plan. In Ghana, one of the most painful things is we have very little respect for history. I have seen historical buildings in Ghana bastardized. One day somebody decides that these windows, they are old. And then the next time they put glass. And I say, what? This is an era of our history. This is how this architecture was done. This is how this building was built. But because our sense of history is not there, it affects our sense of the future. Not everything shiny is good. So we must have a sense of, if we say Ghana is developed, should it look like Dubai? I will say no. But we have to have a clear, when we say we are developing, along which line are we developing? How should our cities look like? How should our buildings look like? Should every building look like ABC? No. If you go to many countries, like you go to Europe, there are certain buildings that are historical heritage buildings, and if you buy them, you keep them as they are. For some of the buildings, you can change things inside, but you can't change anything outside. Even things inside, there are certain things you can't change. So maybe the light switches represent an era in the 40s. It has to be kept that way. You can't go and put some modern light there, because the future doesn't necessarily mean modernization. But the future is having a clear vision of the path of your development and how your development should look like, how your cities should look like, how people who are rich should live, what kind of communities should we live in, how should people in the community interact with each other. All of this is future-mindedness. So I didn't want to, for one thing, I don't really like the development language of the Bretton Woods institutions. Maybe it's my old anti-colonial, but I don't like them. I don't like World Bank. I don't like IMF. I don't like them. I don't like them one bit. I don't like any suggestion of theirs. I don't like any program of theirs. I don't like them. So I don't use their language. SDGs, and I don't care about them. Because I feel we easily adopt things without thinking. And then it becomes our language and everybody, and we judge civilization and our progress based on terminologies that people have developed for us. So that's me. So when they go this way, I go the opposite way. Much as I believe that colonialism is not our primary problem, it's a problem. So I stay away from any foreign solution to Africa's problems. I am not one of those who is very, very happy with Germany and whatever. No, I don't go there. All right. So, well, there was no statement on leadership. Yes, I didn't directly speak about that, because I think we tend to see leadership in a very limited scope as to people who occupy positions. But, you know, we don't have an aristocracy in Ghana. In other words, people are not hereditary leaders. We don't elect presidents because their father handed over to them. People don't become ministers because their father made them, handed over to them. Every leader in Ghana comes in his own right. We don't run an aristocracy or a hereditary system or a monarchy. So if we keep having these wrong leaders from all sorts of places, we have soldiers, we have police, we have everything, and we seem to be making mistakes, then I will forget about the position and look at the machine that is producing the leaders and the culture that is producing the leaders. Because if we don't fix that, we will have the dysfunction at the top all the time, because the dysfunction is at the bottom. So, expand the scope to take this lecture in other places. It's good and it's not good, you know, because we have a bastardizing culture in this country. And something that is good can easily be, for whatever reason, people will find a way to throw away anything. I have gone through a lot of mental transformations, and I have come to the point that I can only control what I can control. I can't control what I can't control, and I can't control Ghana. But I can control me. I can control what happens in my home, to an extent what happens in my church. So I have to define my spheres of influence and operate there. And hopefully, from that sphere of influence, you begin to expand and show an example to people. The spiritual, maybe that's what I call the magical. Because what people call spiritual in Africa, in Ghana, is not spiritual, it's magic. You see, Christianity, one of the biggest threats of Christianity, wherever it goes, is syncretism. And syncretism is when the existing religious beliefs and culture of the people begins to find expression in the Christian message. So you may think you are preaching Christianity, but you are preaching African traditional religion. And a lot of churches in Ghana are not practicing Christianity. They are practicing African traditional religion and its mystical, magical activities in the church. But it's not Christianity. How? Because Christ is not the foundation of the teaching. He's not mentioned. He's not alluded to. His teachings are not practiced. His words are not examined. His person is not examined. It's nothing about Christ. It's simply something happening. And Africans always want a magical answer to their problems. They don't want process. When you go to the fetish priest, he would not say, bring a notebook. I'm going to teach you. Point number 1, number 2, number 3. No, he wouldn't tell you that. No fetish priest does that. The fetish priest will tell you, go and bring a chicken, bring egg, bring this. Meet me at dawn tomorrow. We'll go and do something and things will change. So they don't aim at personal change, personal transformation, change of thinking. That is not what Christianity is about. Christianity is about a change that happens from the Word of God affecting the way you think and your perceptions of life. Much of what people call spirituality has nothing to do with spirituality. It is just a manifestation of African traditional religion in the church. And there's a lot of it happening now. A lot of it happening now. And my concern is that the church is gradually becoming the fulcrum, the base of the dysfunctional African culture. The church is becoming the base. Almost everything I said about Africa, you find in most churches today. Dysfunctional leaders, abusive leaders, illogical leaders, all of that is happening under the so-called anointing. So Christianity is not bizarre behavior. Christianity is not bizarre behavior. If Christianity, go and read, how Christianity transformed Europe. The Europe we see today is a product of Christianity. It is through Christianity that they moved from a destructive culture to a productive culture. Christianity was the bedrock of learning, of philosophy, of logic, of science. It is not for nothing that all the major Western universities, the core were Christian institutions. From Cambridge, Oxford to Cambridge to Sorbonne to Harvard to Yale, all of them Christian institutions. The centers of logic emerged from a Christian worldview. Christianity is not an illogical worldview. Christianity is a religion of the book. Its beliefs are written. Its views are encoded. It is not defined by a pastor talking. It is defined by the book speaking. And how to dig into the book to find what it is saying. When we reduce Christianity to just verbal expressions of a pastor without any reference to its source material, the Old and the New Testament, we're not talking about Christianity. We are just talking about self-effusion. We're talking about just African traditional religion. So I don't see much of what people call spiritual aspiration. I know some of the students do that. You go to the forest, then they go and steal. They go and rape. They steal somebody's food. So that's not Christianity. Christianity is not just some frenzied behavior. It has to affect your heart. It has to affect your value system. It has to affect your thinking processes. It has to affect your relationships. Jesus Christ, the founder, the owner of Christianity, says, this is how people will know that you are my disciples. And he says, because of the affection you have for one another, the way you treat people, and beyond that, the way you treat your enemy. Christianity was able to overthrow the Roman Empire, not with guns, but in a world where when people were infected with disease, people were left to die in the streets because they didn't understand germs and sickness and disease and infections. Christians will go and pick the sick people and nurture them and nurse them in their homes, risk their own lives, from which later developed the whole culture of hospitals. It came from Christianity. It is from Christianity that we understood how to include women in the community, because the Roman community did not have room for that. But it is in Christianity that there is no male, there is no female. It's in Christianity that people learned to honor people's possessions and did not seize people's items from them. All of these concepts are based on Christianity. If we truly practice it, there will be a moral and ethical change in our part of the world. We have to move away from magical Christianity to transformational Christianity. That is the only way African Christianity can be a transformational force. So, I'm done.